Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the world of Don't Starve Together. I'm Eva from Group 2. 5 weeks ago, our group fell into a dark parallel world accidentally. During this exciting adventure, we explore not only the core elements of this world, but also the real ourselves. First, let me briefly introduce the magic and dangerous world to you. Don't Starve Together is a standalone multiplayer expansion of the uncompromising wilderness survival video game Don't Starve, which is developed by the Canadian indie video game developer Clay Entertainment, and this version was fully released on April 2016. Compared to the original version, Don't Starve Together has more freedom, as there is no plot introduction and few instructions. After the world is generated, player can select the character and then enter this unexplored world, which is full of strange creatures, dangers, and surprises. This game supports up to 6 players at a time. You can cooperate with your friends in a private game or take your chances with strangers online. You can work with other players to survive the harsh environment or strike out on your own. Do whatever it takes, but most importantly, don't starve. Then Zoe will introduce the rule constraints and player behavior.
This is Zoe. It's the rules of the game through themselves. Of course, it has some obvious rules that can be obeyed. Firstly, the rule setting. Before starting the game, the player needs to choose the rules. Different rules have different skills and satiety values, ingredient values, and health values. Skills could help players survive better, and when 3 values return to 0, players will die. Secondly, natural conditions also exist in this game, such as weather, the change of day and night, and the seasonal disasters. In summer, trees may spill from the weather. In addition, the production and use of tools is also a core rule. For better survival, tools are essential. The game will prompt which materials for different tools require and the purpose of making the tools. However, as mentioned above, the game has hidden rules. First, the danger degree of materials. For example, collecting honey will cause a bit challenging, and there is only one kind of mushroom in 4 mushrooms which is safe. But players have to try which one is safe, and the cost is death. Secondly, food processing is also a hidden rule. When collecting food, most people will walk directly without knowing food that have been processed through a fire heap. These rules have some impact on the player's behavior. Player may willing to do something but cannot do other things. For example, collecting food to maintain the 3 values, collecting materials, production tools, actively attacking monsters to lure skill needs, and preparing fire before dark coming. However, players cannot collect the materials without tools, cannot stay in the dark for a long time, and cannot make their own 3 values come to 0. So is there any players to jump out of the rules? The answer is that one part of the players usually use the prompt in prop to escape from the rules. This part of players always be called cheaters. In summary, this game have less guidance in order to simulate the actual situation of the wasteland, and the players need to determine the rules by constantly trying to die, and therefore affecting the player's behavior. The next is Mochen.
Yeah, I'm watching. And moving to the player parts, we can see that when the group is playing in single player mode, the rate of observing type is 60% and the critical type is 40%. And in the online game mode, the data present is the same as in the single player mode. In both sets of data, the player's determination of their own type is mostly based on their own preference, such as preferring to play the game in person to gain a sense of experience or watching others to play to gain gaming experience. And there is also a crossover between these 2 types, such as checking out the game's cheats for a smoother subsequent passage. And in single-player mode, 80% classify themselves as explorers and 20% as killers. Some special features of the character in the game have an impact on the data. And in multiplayer mode, 80% think they are socializer and 20% is explorer. It's easy to see that a big part of purpose of online gaming is to socialize. Okay, please, next page. And when we ranked the player purpose, the highest scores were social and the lowest were achievement. This matched the player type to some extent. And let's move to 史册.
Hello, so this is my part is about worldview. According to the feedback of our group, the emphasis of Don't Stuff Together worldview increases awareness and planning ability is obvious. But in this game, the version we play, compared with the original version that player can only cooperate with the NPC, Piggyman, the worldview is more significant in characteristic of cooperation, because players can help each other. In addition, it's worth mentioning that, in addition to the worldview created by the game designer, different types of players will also affect players' worldview on the game. Other designs in Don't Stuff Together are encouraging players to survive in the game world, and the players have to strive to survive longer. If there are no items such as touchstones, the player will lose everything after death and can only start again. This kind of doubt about the this kind of doubt about the nothingness of meaning and fate is one of the thoughts of the magic realism. It also shows the Japanese philosophy of sorrow, momono aware, that is, everything will eventually die. In the Don't Stuff Together, all the actions that the players do are ultimately to survive for more days. The extent of game role has different meaning in the eyes of different players. How to achieve eternity, how to gain immortal power in this game world. Some players choose to arm themselves and collect more items, while others choose to accept round after round of death and regard the rules death as a part of the game world. And let's go to Hanhan's part.
Okay, at the last part, we're gonna explore the relationship between players' typologies mentioned before and the game itself. First, it has a good impact on defining the main feature of the play. In general, different games attract different players as they require different features. In this case, we could also study Don't Stop Together by our own data. Let's come back to the chart. It shows that most type of players in this game are observing type, which related to the game mechanics, because there is not enough guide information at the beginning, and many beginner players would find that it is too difficult to continue the game by themselves. In addition, it may also mean that the designers want to create a world without too many regulations, and they encourage players to explore without limitations. On the other hand, the designers of Don't Stop Together said there would never be multiplayer mode before, as they wanted to focus on the urge to survive and the loneliness. And that is the reason why most of the players tend to post their own world screenshots to the social media. They enjoy the fun of changing the original world to any styles they like. We could see that in the second chart. Lots of players are explorers. Let's move to the next slide. It is also worth mentioning that, in some extent, the type of players would be influenced by the designers. For example, if players choose bandits as their characters, they are likely to behave as killers, since they need to kill more animals to use their own skills. So this is our video essays. Thank you.